1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Self-awareness is a superpower. My name is KathyLaDonna. Welcome to Soul and Vibration. Like if you have an eating disorder or any kind of issues with eating or complications when it comes to eating, like Ceres will help you to understand why that is. And basically, again, it comes from our nurturing, like what we were told growing up, or how we perceived what we were told growing up, how we perceive the adults in our lives growing up. You know, how we were nourished and things like that. Ceres in astrology. Ceres is the name of the Roman goddess who is responsible for the corn and the harvest. Ceres is, I think, the same person as Demeter in Greek mythology, mother of Persephone, who was stolen and taken to the underworld. So Ceres, the name of Ceres is also where we get the word cereal from. And cereal is something that we eat to nourish us and to give us substance. And if you think back of the early settlers, they would move from place to place in order to eat, in order to be nourished, because, you know, according to the seasons, different things were available in different places. But once we learned how to harvest, we learned how to plant crops and grow whatever we need according to what the soil will allow, that's when the settlers were able to start building foundations, opposed to moving here and moving there because of what's available. So Ceres in our natal chart talks about how we unconditionally love and how we like to nurture others, how we nurture ourselves, how we go with the flow of life. In some people's chart, like Ceres will show custody issues and even possible abductions, you know, because Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, which I believe is also Ceres, basically was stolen and taken to the underworld. And because Demeter, or Ceres, who was responsible for the agriculture, refused to allow anything to grow because she was so sad about losing her daughter, like basically, you know, everything stopped growing according to the stories. Zeus convinced Hades to give Persephone back. So instead he agreed to give her back for six months out of the year and keep her for the other 6 months. So 6 months out of the year represents like the spring and the summer, you know, the harvest, where the other 6 months where she's away, the winter time, represents like, you know, the sadness that Ceres experienced when she was gone. So just from her being taken alone can show you within your natal chart, you know, different issues that may have occurred when you were a child. Or again, like I mentioned, how you will nurture your child. And often we nurture ourselves and others based on how we were nurtured as children. Like say, for example, a parent who grew up with a parent who didn't love them enough and ignored them and didn't give them everything they need might turn around and nurture their child in a way where they try to do the opposite of what their parent did, and they give them everything, to the point where they might hinder their child and stop them from, you know, being as independent as they could in this life because of their wounds, what they experience. And of course, because of their wounds and what they experience, that determines how they will nurture. Ceres is known as, in astronomy, Ceres is known as a dwarf planet because it's bigger than an asteroid. Ceres was discovered January 1st, 1801. And I thought it was cool that the numerology for January 1st, 1801 adds up and reduces to the number 3 vibration. And of course, the number 3 represents the child. And the child doesn't have to be an actual child. It could be anything that we work towards and give birth to. And that could be agriculture, in the sense that we have an idea to grow something. We put the seed in the soil, and then after nurturing it, we are able to get crops or fruit trees based on how we nurture that thing. So Ceres in our chart talks about how we like to be nurtured and how we nurture others. And the way how we nurture things could be completely different. Like for me personally, I had this lily tree, not lily tree, a lily plant, a lily, a small plant. And no matter what I did, like that plant would not thrive, and eventually it died. But what I learned from the process is that I need to be more patient. Like, I guess I'm used to certain plants where it's like you water them, and you water them on a certain time frame or whatever. You put them on a certain schedule and they're fine with the required amount of sunlight. Where working with that lily showed me what it meant to truly nurture a child or nurture something, in the sense that a true nurturer doesn't force their will on whatever it is that they're nurturing. Like with the lily, it would have been good if I was patient and observed it daily and see how it responds when I put it here, opposed to how it responds when I put it there, how it responds with this much water, opposed to how it responds with less water. Does the soil need changing? Like, I followed everything that I was told to do according to like lilies on a whole, but that didn't work for that lily, because that lily is its own individual and it required what was needed for it to flourish. So Ceres in our chart talks about, again, how we were nurtured by our parents, by our caregivers, and how we will mother others. And again, like I mentioned, the way we nurture others and ourselves has a lot to do with how, like, our experience growing up as children, how we perceive life and how we perceive our parents and how they nurtured us will play a big part in how we cope and nurture ourselves. Like how we basically just learn how to exist in this world. And it talks about how we will go with the flow, because, of course, seasons are important when it comes to Ceres energy, because, think about the part when Persephone was only allowed to come up for 6 months out of the year, and then basically go back down for 6 months out of the year. And, that could go towards like certain plants that come up for a certain time of the year and go back down for a certain time of the year. But either way, Ceres in your natal chart talks about how you like to nurture others, how you like to nurture, how you go with the flow, and basically what's important to you in order for you to feel love. Like, I feel like this could also be considered like a love language type thing. Like, how do you receive love and how do you give love? Because it's like, as simple as that may seem, I find that different people know how to give love only the way they know how to give love. And yes, you can try to condition yourself to give love the way someone else needs you to give it, but that doesn't come natural to you. And, over time you could probably train yourself to give love that way. But I feel like that's almost like going against the nature of yourself. And I find that relationships and connections are super successful when we are able to be ourselves when we're giving love, and the other person who's giving love to us can be themselves. I feel like in intimate connections, like those relationships seems to be the most strongest and fruitful, because in the process of me just being me, you feel loved, and in the process of you just being you, I feel nurtured in the connection. And of course, when we nurture something, it grows. And I'm gonna add something else before I cut it. Like, for me, love is like, when we talk about love can seem so complicated, because, most of us don't realize that our idea of love is something that was sold to us by marketers. Like, in the process of trying to sell us something, they sell us an image, and of course music and visuals, it plays on our emotions. and we associate love with basically what we saw because of how the music and the visuals connected to us at the moment. But for me, love is as simple as appreciation, something that is gaining value. So when you look into nature, everything in nature is constantly gaining value. Even a tree that falls down is now nurturing the soils and trees that are to come. So it is constantly gaining value. So when we're in love with someone, we are seeing the value in them. And when we don't love someone anymore, you know, that value isn't continuing to grow. Like, we can value them as an individual and as a human. But like when we're in love with them, we're constantly seeing that value. And when we're not in love anymore, like, we don't see that growth and value. So yeah, we nurture things, and when we're nurturing it, it's growing. In the earlier days, the way how our clothes was made was from natural fibers, you know, things that would come from the harvesting, whether it's the skin of the animals or just, you know, different things in nature. So Ceres will talk about clothes, the kind of clothes you like to wear, and how you nurture yourself when it comes to your presentation of your clothing. You know, how you raise children, how, you know, your relationship when it comes to food and dieting, how you eat, what you like to eat. Like, Ceres will help you to get a better understanding of all of those things. So yeah, Ceres is pretty powerful when it comes to overall nurturing ourselves. We nurture ourselves when it comes to the conversations that we're having with ourselves within, similar to the moon energy. And we nurture ourselves by the food we consume, the relationship we have with food, our understanding of food, you know, the clothing that we put on. And then of course, the way we nurture others has everything to do with ourselves, how we see ourselves in the world, how we were nurtured ourselves, and, you know, what makes us feel good. And again, how we flow with the seasons of life. All of that has to do with our nurturing, and Ceres will help you to understand that on a deeper level. Love yourself as if your life depended on it, because it does. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.